Not getting anywhere here.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that I'm the only one who can't get it uploaded.
No, you're not.
No,
And
you're
also
not the only
additionally
one.
have a voice
Me neither.
vote after, since we'll have to be doing Elaine on the phone, who doesn't have the chat function. For those of you who can't put it in the chat, we'll ask, just it's easier to have only 3 people voting by voice versus, 50 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, I hit yes. I mean, I hit no, actually, and I do have it on my function on my phone.
Oh, you
This is
do?
Elaine Howland, yeah. It's on the bottom.
All
Perfect.
right. That's very
Okay.
handy.
Yep.
I don't know.
I can even raise my
Vote
hand.
Counted.
I hit yes, and then I did return or enter, and I don't see mine showing up.
Same with mine.
I see yours.
I see yours.
I see yours.
Okay.
Yep, you're in there. I don't see Elaine's though, so we might still need to have Elaine Howland.
Is mine in there? Is Dawn's in there? Because I
One
did.
problem.
Yep, Don, I see yours.
Good.
So it looks like just Elaine's isn't and the Dehees aren't. So if it's Lisa's going to vote on behalf of her wife, so that looks like it'll work.
Do you
did
see it now?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay,
That's
So
all right. We
I'll
can do
do
2
that.
voice votes. That's easy.
okay.
You're
I
muted.
saw Elaine's. I saw her yes, and then it
I found
disappeared.
mine. It may be the same thing. I was looking for my name, but it says from me.
Hey, Elaine, you're on mute. If you click mute, we can hear you talking. We can't hear you.
No.
There you
Okay.
are.
Oh,
Here I am, yes.
okay, but when I click on chat, it just keeps moving left and right. I don't get any options. I don't get anything.
Right.
Okay, so maybe we'll have you be a voice vote
You
as
can
well.
vote by
especially if
voice
you're-
too then,
If
Elaine.
you're
Okay.
joining on an iPad, that's difficult.
You can hear me now when you can hear
Yep.
me? Oh, okay, all
Good.
right.
Okay, so we're continuing to take attendance as some people are coming in. I see a Betty, and then I see Robin. I'm wondering if you all have doubles. Robin, is Joe joining you?
He's here.
Okay,
Okay.
so we've got him on the roll. And I don't know which Betty that is because we have a couple in our but hopefully we've at least marked you as attending. So we have everyone here.
Carolyn's here with me as well.
Oh, okay,
Cool.
I'll put her down. Thank you. So now we'll approve the agenda for our meeting. Since most people have it in front of them, do we still want to screen share?
Oh, yes, please.
Okay, all right, let's just for the ease. I can do that, Neil. Here's where everyone, I'm taking the roll here. Sorry, my thing got stuck. My apologies. Okay.
Carrie, I don't see my name.
You want me to share, Carrie? I can do it.
Oh, could you? I have too many windows open.
Oh, here you go. I will
Thank
share it
you.
out. Yep. Everyone see it
There
okay?
we go. That's good.
All right. And since we're voting so someone, just to give folks again, reminder, somebody will make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Somebody will second it. And when you say motion to approve or second, please say your name so Heather can record you guys in the minutes, since she can't see 50 pictures at the same time.
I
So
approve of the agenda. Elaine Howland.
do we have a second?
Second, Nancy.
All right. All in favor of approving the agenda as shown on the screen?
Aye.
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 You got to put it in the chat though.
Oh, you gotta
Everyone
do
stick it in the chat.
Oh,
This is how we'll be doing it. Oh, Neil, we're seeing
Oops, sorry.
we're seeing your Slack messages. or
Wrong
whatever.
one. My Slack messages are showing. Here we go.
Okay, I'm not getting to vote.
Let's say we'll get them rolled in, and then we'll ask anyone who couldn't get theirs in the chat to vote by voice. All right. So those who are voting by voice, Lori, are you a yay or a nay?
Yay.
Lori's a yay. Elaine.
Nay. I mean, yes.
Okay. And Dee,
Voting for.
About
Dee,
mine.
get 2 votes.
Diane. Carrie, Diane Terry.
Okay. I think you're in there, aren't you?
I didn't see my name,
You may
but
have-
it's okay. I think I didn't like my chat.
Okay. So yeah, I don't see you either, Diane. So you're
Oh,
another vote by voice.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep. So Diane, Yay or nay?
Carrie, I think the Betty that joined us might be Betty Holmes. Is that you, Betty?
Okay. Dehes? Yay or nay? Oh, Leslie, we can't hear you. You're not muted, but. I'm gonna do thumbs up, thumbs
thumbs
down.
up. Thumbs up or thumbs down.
All right, good, thank you. So I've recorded the 5 voice votes that, and we've got an overwhelming amount of yays in the chat. So I say we have approved the agenda.
Just a tiny point of order that might make things a bit simpler. There's probably going to be a lot of votes in which we're all saying yay. I'm wondering if, to save time, maybe we should all just say yay in unison, ask people to say nay, and if there are nay votes, then we can do a full count to see what the majority is. I'm wondering if that would be a simpler way of doing it.
See a lot of nods. Okay.
Yep, I think that's good.
All right, that's how we do it normally. In before times.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sounds good. All right, so
yeah.
that will require everyone to be unmuted, however, or thumbs upping. So now we're going to vote to accept the minutes that were put out from last year's annual meeting in the annual report. Neil looks like he's going to scroll through them quickly.
Rob Finney moves to second.
Or do we have, sorry, I think we have to have a motion to approve. the minutes.
Motion, I'm sorry, Rob Finney motion to accept.
Ken Jones, second.
All right. All in favor of approving of the minutes of last year's annual meeting?
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
Are there any nays? Say nay or wave your hands really vehemently. Do not see any nays. I believe that passes.
Hi, Tina and Alex.
Great, good. This is working well. We're all rock stars. Neil, I'm going to share my screen to show the bylaws, if that's all right. Okay. So we had put out ahead of time amended bylaws. That is something that we do every year. Every 10 years. Our bylaws state that we have to amend the bylaws to keep them up to date and to look over if anything has changed. So this is what we had put out. Are there any changes that we would like to make before either approving yes or no?
Yes.
What is your recommended, your change?
Okay. In Article 3, both under A and B, we have the male pronoun for the office. It should be just the duties of the office, not his.
Oh, I see. Under which section?
One is with the clerk.
Okay.
And one, I think, is also with the treasurer.
Discharge of his duties. Do you recommend
No,
changing
his.
it to
No,
what?
take the his out.
Faithful discharge of duties?
Of the duties, or the
Of
duties
the
required
duties.
of the job, or whatever.
I'm getting, okay.
Of thy duties.
Thy duties.
All right, I don't care, that's fine.
Okay, and then where was the other one in the treasurer?
Right in the next section, I think. In B.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah, you got it.
And then the other ones are not, they do not have the male pronoun. So
Right.
do we have a vote to accept the amendment to the proposed changes of the bylaws?
Are we voting?
Why don't we,
On your proposed changes.
yeah, why don't we do this all at once? So is there anybody who has any objection to that change? And then we'll move on to the next change if there is one.
Right. Yep.
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, so
Was
we,
it-
No objection.
Were there any other changes or comments? And also, this is also if folks want to have a discussion or bring up a point or make a comment, now would be the time to do so before we move to vote on the new document.
I have a couple of questions. We talked about this a little earlier, and I might have just missed it, but I can't for the life of me figure out how we're identifying what is a quorum, either on the vestry or on the parish.
I think vestry is 5 members, so we changed it from 7, which was reflective of our larger size, to 5. However,
Okay.
you're right that I think for annual meetings or parish meetings, we wrote quorum. A majority will constitute as quorum. I can try to find that, but we don't say
Oh, you do have that in there somewhere?
so.
Yes, a majority of voting members will constitute a quorum at any parish meeting is
Right.
what's in here now.
So do we want to say a half majority, a 2/3 majority? I think 2/3 is
No, majority is fine. I just didn't realize, and I also didn't know if the clerk has a vote on the vestry.
I believe they do, as they're part of the vestry by virtue of their office, but I do believe they have a vote.
Okay, because it says ex officio, so I think we need to look at that.
Does any of our legal folks, Mary Ellen, know if
Yeah.
this is an aspect of canon law I don't have memorized? Apologies for that.
Heather, what have we been doing? I think.
Philip, get out of the way.
I don't think I ever vote, do I? I mean, I give my opinions on things, but I don't know that if it comes to a vote that I
don't think you ever did. That's why
I don't think I do. No, but I always tell you what I think, but I don't vote.
So I think maybe that's something that we don't have to change in the bylaws. What we can look into what specifically ex officio means and whether the clerk, officially has a vote. I think I have voice but not vote as your priest in charge. So doesn't have to be defined in the bylaws. That's in the larger Episcopal Church canons.
That's fine.
The Dehees had a question. I thought I saw.
Can you hear me?
Barely.
Barely.
I don't know what's wrong. Why not?
Here it is.
That's good.
No, it is. It goes in and out.
All right. I've had that feedback before. I have no idea why. All right. In the clerk section we're just looking at, the second line, it says, this is just a picky thing. Ex officio, just for consistency with the section of Article 3 referring to somebody or other, the priest in charge will be the ex officio. In that section, it was all small letters and in italics. Ex officio, small letters in italics.
Yeah.
The dash, ex dash officio. So my suggestion is just to make it
Oh, there it is.
Okay. So
second line. Yeah.
yeah, in Article 3, Section 2A, recommended change being formatting.
Yep.
Okay.
Ex officio, all small letters with ex dash officio.
Got it.
And italic, yeah. And then in terms of pronouns, the last phrase of the clerk, number 5 says, shall perform such other duties as the parish may assign to them, and the clerk is a singular person. So my suggestion is, shall perform such other duties as may be assigned by the parish.
Or as assigned, period.
Yeah.
Assigned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
As assigned.
Yeah,
As
assigned by the
assigned,
parish.
period.
Yep, there you go.
Good. Although the singular them is catching on, but I do hear that it is
I'm
it
an
is a
old
singular.
school person. It's like fingernails on a blackboard. And then that same issue is under the treasurer, the very last number 5,
Yep.
shall perform such other tasks as assigned.
All right.
That's
So those are Leslie's 3 recommended changes. Do we have motion to accept those to the proposed bylaws? Judy's proposing.
Ken, motion.
And
I
Jack
second.
Alex seconded. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Alex seconds.
All in favor, say aye or wave your hand.
Aye.
Are there any nays?
Sorry, I have one more.
Oh, sorry, Leslie.
That's all right. That same section under the rector, and I don't have a good solution, but again, the last 2 lines, this is referring to the rector or priest in charge. And it says, for the purpose of their office. Yeah, it's very hard to,
Just say the office. That's
Oh,
The office.
for the purpose of the office.
Yeah.
Church office?
Well, it's more like position, not a physical building, but yeah. So you propose the office?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Good. This language is, by the way, taken directly from the model parish bylaws. So next time ECCT goes to rewrite those, we'll have some recommended changes.
We will have some changes.
Okay, so for this last change, I'm sorry I didn't highlight, but recommended change to be of the office.
Right.
PIC or rector, all in, do we have a motion? We have aye.
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 All right, are there any nays? Seeing and hearing none. Do we have any final recommendations on the amended bylaws as presented by the vestry and as amended by all of us today?
I have one more discussion I'd like to have on Article 2, Section 1.
Yep.
I'm having a lot of trouble with the word acquired. Membership shall be acquired. It sounds transactional to me, like buying something. And that's not really what membership is about, I don't think. And I was wondering if we could change it to affirmed. Membership is affirmed.
Nothing wrong with acquired.
Let
me look that up.
The recommendation is to change acquired to affirmed. Again, great feedback for our model parish bylaws, of which this part is also taken. Do we have let's see, should we accept or reject that change? All in favor, please say or wave your hand. Aye.
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 And any in favor, please speak up and say nay.
I guess I'll say nay. It doesn't seem like that changes the intent of the paragraph, but affirmed and acquired are different things. So I guess that's the point, Elaine, that you're making. They are different things, but it does change the intent of it.
Okay. We have a majority, though. We have a majority who said aye, so that will pass. Any other recommended changes to the bylaws as they've been amended?
No, I don't. Wait a minute. I don't have anything else except I would like to ask you, Carrie, why is baptism in there by assumption because of canons? But we don't say it in the bylaws?
No, it's not. And that is an important change.
I don't like that.
This being coming from the model parish bylaws of ECCT, the decision was sort of made in the structure of those to move away from membership being defined sacramentally, especially given how often people move and parish membership being more transient and more discipleship oriented. So you'll notice that the new proposed definition of what a member is it's easier to track, given again how people move around, but then also it's based on behavior and participation rather than one who got marked in a book a long time ago. And I think if we look around our annual meeting, the reason when we were proposing the changes, I thought to put this in is that all of us, I'm sure most of us are baptized, but we're here not necessarily, we're here by grace of our baptism, but also because we're active, we're praying, we're working for the church. So having membership be defined by who's actually around versus, who got baptized, at some point and may not even be a member of the community in a realistic sense. So I hear that. And if you'd like to propose a change, you are very welcome to.
Well, my concern is that moving away from the sacrament really bothers me as a part of the whole. I agree with you about ministry and working for the church in that sense, or for the parish. But What's going to happen to the sacrament, Jerry?
I'd say sacraments are still extremely important to our common life, and like we're not going to stop baptizing people. It just means when we're coming up with the roll for annual meeting, it's a little easier to count. We still have baptism as a requirement for taking Holy Eucharist. That's still a guideline that we abide by as Episcopalians. Baptism is the gateway to other sacraments. So, I mean, I certainly am not discounting baptism at all. I just think it's so much, this is more reflective of what a member looks like. And someone might be participating in the church actively who hasn't been baptized yet. And that's a tender conversation to be had, and certainly.
Yeah.
That's
a
my 2
pastoral
cents as
concern
the one who
then.
helped
Okay.
prepare this document, but I'm happy to take and accept proposed change. All right. Are there any other questions on the revised bylaws?
Showing me stuff
Or
like that.
I'm
I
sorry.
like your reaction.
I have, I'm sorry. I have 2 more.
go on, Leslie.
Section Article 4, Section 2. There's a list, and this is just a typo. There's a list of the annual meeting nominating committee shall present, blah, blah, blah. The very last line.
Yeah, there it is.
Here's a typo.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you, Leslie.
Got it. Okay. And one more, just more a finessing of the writing. And actually there's a typo. Section 5, Article 5, committees. Right now it's consisting of finance, and the word finance is misspelled.
Thank you, Leslie. As you can see, my typos are prolific, and I'm grateful for the eyes.
Okay. Now here's, I do that all the time, typos. So here's my suggestion. It's kind of a clumsy statement. So I want to move the phrase consisting of finance, property.
Just read about in the front where I was making the call.
Well, they're always,
tapping on the window.
they're always,
You're going, Leslie.
I would just like it to say, the standing committees of Trinity Parish shall be the finance, property, and stewardship committees. And serve under the authority of the vestry.
Yes.
Okay. Shall be
the finance.
Oh, hello, Dillo.
Yeah, that's right.
The finance, property, and stewardship committees.
It's plural. Okay.
Yeah.
The authority of the vestry.
Vanessa, yeah. I don't think you need the comma there after committees.
Oh, right.
Capitalized vestry.
Capitalized vestry. Okay, for consistency.
Hey.
All right, to accept Leslie's proposed changes, 2 typos and a clarification of language.
I'd keep the comma after committees.
Oh, all right.
You amending the amendment?
Tina wants her Oxford comma.
I love commas. I just think it's clarifying because it says what the committees are.
Yeah.
Serving under the vestry.
Yep.
So it's like a different clause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Putting the comma back in.
Comma back in.
That's
If we're
fine.
doing this annual convention style, it would take like 3 hours, but we're doing our job here. All right, so those who are in favor of Leslie's proposed changes,
As amended.
as amended by Tina, please say aye or wave your hand.
Aye.
All right, any nays? Scroll through all y'all's videos. I see none. All right, are there any more proposed changes to the bylaws? Otherwise, we will vote on them as amended by the annual meeting. Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the amended parish bylaws?
So moved.
That's Lori.
Yep.
Second.
Nancy.
Tina has seconded. So Lori motioned, Tina seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, congratulations, Trinity Collinsville. We've got some amended bylaws, as our bylaws tell us we have to do every 10 years, and how convenient it was this year. Let me stop my screen share. Okay, I'll hand it over to Lisa for treasurer's report.
All right. Neil, thanks for pulling that up. Okie dokes. So I think everybody probably is in receipt of the annual report. I thought it would just be easier to kind of hit up some highlights and then use the balance of the time to take any questions. So we're first going to talk about 2020 in review. So we're going to the next one. So from a balance sheet standpoint, and I think that's page 15 on the annual report, just really quickly, we closed out with operating cash of $54,000. Just to let folks know, that was infused with $30,517 of the Small Business Administration's PPP loan, for which we use those funds to cover our payroll as well as the nursery school's payroll. So you can see the split there. About 20,000 of that went over to the church, with the balance going to TNS for their payroll needs. In addition, we did put up a liability for that PPP loan. The expectation and hope is that that will be forgiven. I have applied for the forgiveness on that, and we're waiting to hear the final determination. We also recorded a loan receivable for the amount that we gave the nursery school. Just from an accounting perspective, right, if for some reason that loan was not forgiven from the SBA, we would look to collect back from the nursery school the $10,000. They are us, we are them. So it's more of just an accounting documentation than anything else. At the end of the year, we also had about $16,500 worth of pledges that had been made towards 2021 pledges. They were tied up in our investment clearing account. So those are up on the balance sheet as both a asset and a liability. Those funds settled in January, and then we'll record that appropriately as income in 2021. Other than that, the balance sheet was, pretty benign. We did get some, interest income on our assets, as I indicated in the annual report. Any questions on the balance sheet before we go to the revenues and expense discussion? All right, cool. So let's talk about what happened in 2020. From an overall standpoint, we were a little bit better than what we had budgeted for, right? We budgeted for about a $21,000 deficit. We came in at about 13,000. So we actually did stronger than we thought we would, right? And that's kind of a crazy thing to think of, as the whole world went sideways in COVID. But there's some good reasons that we had that improved to budget actual realization. On a high note, just talk about Quality Street. It was our first time going into a full virtual event, and we crushed it. And I think we have a lot to be proud of. We raised a total of $7,120 for Quality Street in 2020. We split that 50-50 between the Canton Food and Fuel Banks. And then when the GoFundMe dollars came in, that was all online revenue. There was another $2,000, just shy of $2,000 that came in. And we cut checks in January of 2021, another $1,000 to each, the Canton Food Bank and the Food. So that was just amazing, right? So good out of the box thinking.
Yes.
And we were able to keep Quality Street going. From a revenue standpoint, we were lower than we thought, right? When you looked at the budget of what was put up at the end of 2019 for 2020, we came in shy $37,000. Okay. I just racked and stacked these in numerical order. The $15,000 that we have historically, budgeted for did not come to fruition in 2020. We were short about $9,000 on pledge revenue. We did make a determination, given the financial struggles that the nursery school had in 2020, that we halved their assessment for a good portion of the year, just to ensure that we could keep the school open. And then, due to being, kind of where we were at with COVID and not being in church, we were shy on our plate collections of $3,200. Okay. Offsetting that shortfall on the revenue side, right, was a reduction in overall expenses. So we came in better to what we projected by about $43,000, right? Primarily, that's due to not filling the Christian formation and the bookkeeper roles. Okay. We had some other employee expenses that are, tied up in Christian formation, et cetera. That was 7,000. So you kind of combine those, and that accounts for 34,000 of the $43,000 favorable budget variance. And then we had a decrease in both worship expense and just overall admin expenses that aggregate up to about $10,000, $11,000. Despite the building being closed, it still needs to run, right? And we had lights on, heat on when we needed to, although reduced, and there wasn't that significant of a shift. If you think about just the maintenance of the building. So any questions on 2020? And I know we're going to hold before we pop into 2021 from a budget.
I don't have a question, but I would like to make a comment about Quality Street. And I am so in awe of what we accomplished for. And I would like, I think we should get credit for it, but I think we should, but the gratitude goes towards the town. And I don't know who supported us with the money. I don't know if there's something has been done in any of the newsletters to thank us, to thank the town. And I would just like to suggest that somehow we make that happen, because it's a significant contribution from our town for our town.
So if I'm hearing you right, Leslie, maybe have Claudette put a communication in some local newspaper.
Yes.
Just thanking the town back for the support of Quality Street.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Quick thing about that.
We did get a
Yeah.
story with a picture in the Valley Press.
Exactly.
And I think the story mentioned that it was due to the generosity of the community.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody was thanked with a personal thank you. Every
And- Yeah, delicious ginger snaps and John Almori's carved.
Yeah.
You were there, Leslie. John Almori's carved ornaments, which are beautiful. So I think that is a good thing to stress.
We also wrote thank you notes, individual, Karen and I wrote individual thank you notes to every single person who donated.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. That's it.
Any other questions on 2020? All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the treasurer's report. Next, we're going to have the election of our slate of vestry members. I'm going to
Actually, I think we have to vote to accept the treasurer's report.
Oh, I'm so
Thank
sorry.
you.
Oh, yes.
So we need a motion to accept the treasurer's report for 2020 as presented.
So moved. That was Sandra.
All right. we have a
Second, Nancy.
Nancy with a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Very good. Thank you.
Oh, doggy.
Thanks for keeping. Oh, yeah, the Hennies have their cute dog up. Love it. Next, we have a new election of vestry members. So I will share the slate. I believe we make a motion to accept the slate as presented. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. So cycling off this year, we've got Bill, Amo, and Tina completing their terms as vestry members, and Neil having served as senior warden and on the vestry beforehand. So we're putting forth a slate of our senior warden, Karen Farling, re-electing Gary as junior warden for 1 year so that he graciously stepped up so that we don't have to replace the wardens at the same time in the future. And because we changed our bylaws, we're re-electing Lisa as our treasurer for a 3-year term and Heather as our clerk. And because of the smaller number of vestry, we only have to have one vestry member at large. And we've put forth Mary Ellen Prudhomme. And below I listed who's still on the vestry as our members. So we have that 6 members at large. We have a motion to accept the slate.
I make Carrie, just a minute. In the past, we've had the voting delegates. Are you going to do that again? Or is that not going to be,
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. I'm so sorry.
Let's scroll down.
Do it. It's in the
Annual
Bible.
convention delegates.
it's Carrie Ann, in the past it's been Carrie Ann McAdoo, Rochelle Harper was alternate, and Bill Amo. And I, of course, went and did these minutes last night, and I wasn't going to call you last night. But I don't know. I think the alternate, I don't know if Carrie Ann and Ann want to do it again. But, however you want to do it.
That's a really good reminder, and I apologize for not putting that on there. Karen and Ann, are you still glad to serve as our delegates to convention?
Absolutely. Yep.
October 21st and 22nd in Hartford, God willing, in some kind of hybrid model. All right. I don't,
Again.
Rochelle's not here, so I don't think it's appropriate to list her as an alternate, and we did not, get a
Ann
nomination.
McAdoo is stepping off.
Okay.
I will not be.
All right.
For the North
Bill,
Central.
do we have another person who would like to serve as delegate to convention?
I would do it.
Who is that?
Me, Lori.
Lori. Okay.
Yeah. if
You have
want.
been nominated from the floor. Do we have any alternates we would like to put forward? Either self-nominated or otherwise. Everyone's entitled to go to convention. Just the ones who are delegates are the ones who get the vote. But every Episcopalian has voice at convention, and then I think it will be hybrid this year with an online component and an in-person component. So we have that to look forward to. Okay, hearing none. So this is the slate. Thank you for the reminder. I'm very grateful. Do we have a motion to accept the slate?
North Central Deanery. Region, whatever it's called.
We don't have to technically vote on that.
Okay.
That is also a kind of self-appointment. If anyone's interested in our region, that Karen can speak all about it. It's a rich ministry, but we are able to send representatives.
You just need to volunteer.
Yes. Although I know the region is in transition a little bit with Aaron Flynn, our former missionary, now serving as half-time priest in charge in East Haddam. So new things are happening in the region. So do we have a motion to accept the slate as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the slate as presented.
Right, that's Mimi.
Second, Peter.
Peter has seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Scroll through. Okay, seeing none, congratulations to our new members of vestry. Welcome to the team, or welcome back on the team. It's an honor to have you all serving in that way. Sorry.
Do we have to cast one ballot, or do we do that in the past?
Yes,
So we
one
accepted
ballot.
the slate, and so we have to do another motion to cast one ballot for the slate as presented.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so go for it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know this part.
I move that the secretary cast one ballot for the slate presented. That's Rob Finning.
Second.
Second said Lori.
Yep.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Seeing none. Now, congratulations to our new vestry member and new senior warden, and those of you who have been brought back on. What I said before, it's an honor.
Yeah.
Have you on the team. I don't want to take up too much space for the PPIC report. I have my longer reflections in the annual report, but also I'd encourage you, if you were not at the 9 a.m. live stream, I preached a sermon that I think speaks, at least came from my heart, and also to where I think it might touch some of your hearts, where we are as a community and as a church right now, and what might be required of us. I think the most important thing I can do, though, in this time is just to say thank you to all of those of you who have been involved in the church, both in the past and in this past year. I know it's been an incredibly traumatizing and difficult and isolating year, and that, like I preached about, just read the sermon, that pain won't go away overnight. We are learning how to walk in the darkness together, and I'm incredibly grateful for the faithfulness that all of you have had for our readers and camera people on the live stream service, for our Zoom church attendees. This year we've trained up 3 lay preachers in Stan Moraski, Mimi McGill and Paul Atkins, we've officially licensed 2 lay worship leaders in Rick Richardson and Karen Farling. We have people learning a new ministry. We had so many people kind of try on new ministries in Zoom Church, in the live stream, in doing Holy Week online for the first time ever. It's not been anything I imagined doing when I signed up for this parish or for this role, and felt God's call to serve as your priest in charge. But I'm so grateful to work alongside you. To our staff, Mary retiring this year, Claudette stepping in and being trained almost entirely remotely and stepping in only in COVID time, to Norm, who keeps our building clean, TNS, who was able to stay open despite so many challenges, Leanne and Katie, and their bleach-soaked hands as they sanitize the nursery school every day, to Carrie, their treasurer. And then with the transition of Jenny as our music minister and welcoming back Alex as our interim, we have an incredible staff, an incredible vestry, incredible lay leaders at this church. And I'm just honored and grateful to work alongside all of you and to follow the call of God into 2021 and beyond. I give thanks every day for this community. So that's my report, in as much as it's a report. So I'll pass it on to Neil.
Cool, thank you. My report's in the book, and I'll keep this relatively short, but I'll use this as my little swan song here to say a couple of words. This 2020 was it was a horrible year in so many ways. Besides COVID, you had all of the heightened issues around race, the brutal election we all just went through, and the place that all of us would come to deal with that. This inner sanctuary, was not available. So it was a tough year for people. I look back and looked at some of the dates that stand out, and February 18th was our last in-person vestry meeting. And at that vestry meeting, we were putting some very lofty goals out there. Goals around parish engagement and walking through, our change of moving to 3/4. And we had some really, really cool things we had planned to do. And COVID, put a spear through a lot of those. And we immediately sort of moved into crisis mode. It became really, let's keep ourselves alive and focus on just getting through the year. But we stepped up for that. I think as a vestry, as a parish, people came together, and you look at some of the things we were able to accomplish this year, from bringing our new parish administrator Claudette on board virtually. We weren't even in the building, and we onboarded somebody new to take over Mary's job. We did put together this multifaceted worship program with Zoom Church and spiritual communion, doing outdoor worship when the weather allowed us to do it. Put together a pretty comprehensive weekly newsletter to do our best to keep folks informed. And to keep an eye on what was happening in our flock. We got that COVID relief loan that Lisa talked about that really made a huge dent in this year and kept us solvent. Mimi spearheaded this Trinity caravan where we visited 26 Trinity families in person. That was a really, really cool event. And using 4 groups of parishioners to bring folks baskets of goodies and just stand there on their lawn and just give them some sense of connection. And then we did our first virtual quality street where we set records for donations on that. So even though we had our sanctuary taken away and we had our Eucharist taken away, we were able to do a lot for our community and for our fellow parishioners and for the people here. And I think that really needs to be celebrated, considering several months ago, we weren't even sure we'd be able to do anything. So I thank the members of Vestry, I thank Carrie, I thank everybody on the Zoom call and everybody in the parish who isn't here for everything you guys did to do that. This is my 7th year on the vestry. I'm rolling off of my 3rd year as senior warden. And I will say, even though this year was horrible in so many ways for me personally, I lost my father last year. We had a severe family illness we're still dealing with right now, and the COVID on top of all that. It's been a miserable year, one of the worst of my entire life. But the support I've gotten from the people at Trinity has helped get me through this. And I really do mean that. And the conversations I've had with some of you, I've had some very difficult conversations with you that have reached out to me. And while they were hard conversations, they were good conversations. There were things that had to be said. There were things that I needed to hear. There are things that Trinity needed to hear. And I just want all of you to know that I hope I was a good ear to you. I hope that I took your needs in. I hope that you feel that I took them seriously and I acted on them. But it made it a very rich year. It gave me something to really hold on to and to get me through what candidly was a very, very horrible year. So I thank all of you for that. So it's really where do we go from here? You know, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think it's a train. I think it truly is light with COVID, that we're going to come out of this thing, and that 2021 will be the year that we come out of it. Again, engagement. We have to get more folks involved. I don't want to wear out all our people that do so much here. So how to not just grab more people and bring them into Trinity, but how to use the folk here even more and engage their gifts. And then Lisa will talk about budget. You know, finances are a big part of this. And so, you know, she'll go through her budget for 2021 and please take it to heart and think of, you know, things that you can do or things others can do to bring us through that. So I'll just conclude reading my last paragraph from my report. I've thoroughly enjoyed my service in the vestry and have full confidence in the slate of candidates that we have placed before you to continue the amazing work I've had the pleasure to be part of these past 7 years. I am not shy in sharing with anyone who will listen about how special Trinity is to me and how the people here have the ability to perform amazing things and positively impact the lives of so many people inside and outside of Trinity. It's my faith in all of you that gives me confidence in truly believing that despite all the challenges in front of us, known and unknown, our strength as a parish and our shared faith will continue to sustain us and carry us through. So thank you all.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think some applause would be in order for our senior warden retiring, moving off the vestry.
Thank you, Neil.
All right, Gary, junior warden's report.
Hello, everybody. So for 2020, I did put a few of the highlights in the annual report. For those who haven't been able to see it, the year kind of started out, and it was, you know, the organ was an issue of like, do we have a leak? Do we need to have it cleaned? There were like multiple pictures taken of it from the top. So just consulting with the, you know, there was the company Normally Services that talked about cleaning it, which is a process that takes months, and you have to actually take the entire thing apart and wash everything. So that would have been pretty much the entire budget we had for all maintenance would have gone to cleaning the organ. But the manufacturer of the organ would have come down and taken a look. But there was another expert company that through a video chat and the pictures said that there was no leaks in our organ, and they thought it was in great shape and didn't need to be taken apart and cleaned. That most of the time the organs that get taken apart and cleaned are in large cathedrals with heavy traffic in them that create a lot of dirt and dust but they thought for our sanctuary, because that's where I did the video chat with them, and then the pictures that they saw, they thought that we'd be fine just with a normal service. There is some dust on the top of the organ. I know that kind of created like, oh my gosh, look at all this dust. Their opinion was that dust would be flying around and would not have settled on the top of it if we had leaks and a lot of dirt in the organ. So anyway, so there was that. And then of course, COVID came. So our property committee met twice this year, and both were kind of, I guess, centered around, you know, what do we do about possibly trying to get us back in service, trying to put air cleaners in, trying to put air handlers in, you know. So Trinity does not have duct work. So our current like AC, you know, furnace company said we could put some ionizers for a few $1,000s in the split vents. And I know this kind of ties into getting back to in-person. So this is what I'm talking about a little bit. That the science behind those, either the air cleaners themselves create ozone, which is another lung irritant, and not really designed for long, you know, indoor use for a big facility. The other option, which is kind of where buildings are going, is you create like a lot of fresh air circulation in the building, and you use HEPA and UV lights to kind of filter the air that keeps circulating in your building. Well, once again, now we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that the church really doesn't have. And the property committee's opinion was, it just didn't really make sense, because you'd have to, if we did it for the sanctuary, we'd be looking at the Trinity Nursery School. And the company we consulted was C&G Heating and Air Conditioning in Torrington. And the owner there was a member for, I think, a short time of our church, and both his kids went to Trinity Nursery School. So he was very familiar with the building and what it would require. So all that being said, the property committee's decision was not to move forward with any like air handling system, mainly because of just the sheer cost of it. So we still had like leaks, and batteries need to be changed, and elevators need to be serviced, and Southern New England fire protection needs to get paid. And so we have all these like items that continue to happen around the building. We took down a large tree last month that was in the nursery school playground area that wasn't healthy. So anyway, that is, I'm be happy to talk to more people about this. I don't know if anyone wants to join the property committee. We're always looking for members, or if, we can certainly talk to anybody who wants to give me a call. My phone number's in the bulletin on the annual report and certainly online. And you can feel free to give me a call if you want to discuss any of those things as well. So thanks very much. And Neil, I can't believe I probably won't be texting or calling you every other day. So thanks.
I have my magic fingers with the elevator. I'll still fix it for you if you need me to.
All right. Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you again for offering to extend your service by one more year so that our wardens are off schedule by a little bit. I think that will help future transitions so much, and we're grateful to have your leadership continued. And I'm sorry, my dog is cold. So turn it over to Lisa for budget presentation.
Excellent. All right. So we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk a little bit about 2021. And on my side, so I see it a little bit differently. When we think about 2021, and you have a lot more detail in the annual report, I think on pages 20 and 21, but it's a much different outlook than what I just talked about, right? So you heard me say 2020, we actually did about $10,000 better than we thought we were going to do. In 2021, and this is after a lot of discussion and a lot of changes to the budget, we're still shy almost $60,000. Okay. So with that, as we sort of step through the numbers, the big changes I will say is we eliminated the anticipated gift revenue. In the true spirit of trying to be conservative and ensure that we're going to have an accurate portrayal of what we think is going to come in, we've eliminated that gift revenue. It also reflects the ongoing decision for the first 5 months of 2021 to keep the nursery school at a 50% reduced assessment. I've been working very closely with Carrie Platt. I have pretty much monthly conversations with her all through 2020 and 2021. But given, still the uncertainty of where we're heading in COVID and what that might do if they had to refund tuition that's already been paid, we've elected to keep that assessment at 50% through May and then ramp back up through June. There was, very transparently a piece where, if we didn't do the assessment reduction last year and this year, there is a little bit of a going concern there with the nursery school. We have elected both, from a vestry's perspective, as well as talking to the finance committee, not to fill the Christian formation and bookkeeper positions for 2021. We simply do not have enough money to do that. With that, some of the Christian formation expenses that we would have anticipated in addition to salary have been reduced. And we've also made the decision not to have a supply priest for times when Carrie is away. And we'll just
Not that I know.
She used to get books.
Did she? Okay, then I'm wrong.
There's his background question. Okay.
No,
Then,
just if everyone
we
could mute their
have-
phone.
I'm sorry?
Just if everyone could mute their line while you're talking, that'd be great.
And then lastly, we have some slight our controllable expenses, just being a little bit more prudent around, things like around coffee hour, the anticipation of when we'll go back, when we won't go back, and any other miscellaneous expenses. Okay, so that will just set the notion that all of those expenses have been already taken out and we're still resulting in about that $60,000 deficit. Had we not done that, when I just took a 2020 year, right, because 2020 budget, and I moved that budget over from expenses and then plunked in our pledge revenue, we were at about $100,000 deficit. So that's why those decisions were made, to save the money where we could, to bring us down to that $60,000 deficit. Okay. So let's start stepping through some of the numbers. Overall, if we go to the next one, overall our revenues are projected to be about $77,000 lower than 2020. So I try to put two little visuals together. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that our pledging units are steadily coming down over the past 3 years. We had 77 in 19, 64 last year, and 45 this year. When you look at the pledge dollars, we're going from 230,000 to 191 to 139. It's a big step down. So a very large step between 2020 and 2021. But I guess part of what I want to just bring into focus is that this has occurred going back to 2019 to 2020 to 2021. We're starting to have that decline, okay? Not as significant as what we're seeing from 2020 to 2021, but we are declining both in pledged revenue and the dollars. If we go to the next page, when we look at the change between 2020 and 2021, we're down those 19 pledging units. And then we have an overall revenue decrease of $52,000, $53,000 from 2020 in pledging. So what I did in anticipation of this meeting, I looked at just those people who have pledged, right? Of the pledging units that we have thus far. 12 units decreased their pledge for a total of $10,840. 10 of those pledging units remain flat, and 17 units increased for a total of $9,577. So when you take all of that and you net it together, we have a decrease of $1,200. Okay. Some folks might say, oh, okay, it's just a net of 12, it almost washes out. But just think if the 12 units that have decreased their pledge, and I'm not suggesting everybody, we've had financial constraints across the board with COVID, but there's $11,000 loss in our pledging units of this year compared to last year. That's on top of losing pledges of almost $52,000 from last year, meaning no pledge units at all. So that's just sort of the mix up of what's happening. So we're losing pledges and we have some stuff going on with our pledging units. The importance in pledges, and one of the things that I'd put out in the newsletter and in the annual report is, it's good just to know where we're at, right? If we have a member and they can't make a pledge, a zero pledge is good to know. As we turn forward and look at our budget, we really should be fiscally looking at what dollars can we bank on, if you will, and that banked on value is through the pledges. We make up, some in plate and, if people have extra, but really we should be looking at what are we bringing in through pledging. So we have a significant drop there. Okay. I'm going to pause just on pledges for a moment. Are there any questions? I will also add, we sent out a letter. I think Karen, thank you for sending that out on behalf of the vestry. We've put multiple notices, I think, into our weekly communications. I think I've had 2 people reach out to me to have a conversation. I'm always available if folks would like to talk to me just about what's going on. But we have not really gotten any surge of additional pledges post those reach outs. Okay. If we go to the next page, when we think about revenue, we had, as I discussed, the elimination of the $15,000 of the anticipated gifts, and then that decrease of the TNS assessment that will continue just for the first 5 months, but that's also causing $4,100 of lost revenue, if you will. So I'm going to pause on revenues for a minute. Any questions?
I have a comment. Question.
Yeah.
Question. Have we reached out personally to the I forgot, now you're on the different screen now, the 19 people or so who have, what are their pledges, people who pledged in 2020 that did not pledge in 2021? Did we reach out? Do we make phone calls to them to actually talk to them? And
there have been some reach outs, yes. across the board. I think Mimi, and I think it's Mimi. I can't see if
Yeah, it
I recognize your voice. Hi, good to hear from you. We have done some reach outs, and then, kind of transparently after this annual meeting, the vestry is going to take another push and do those reach outs. I think the story there in the reach out is twofold, right? One, everybody will now understand where we are financially. And, let's just talk about that. So I would expect calls to be made. And, hopefully we will see that pledged revenue come up. We also understand, and very transparently, and, anybody from the vestry can kick in. We had many conversations this year around discussions of going and addressing pledge revenue even for 2020. I think this has been a year like none other, and there are financial constraints that individuals that never had to worry about financial situations are now in that boat. I think you could see it and you could feel it. Many times I was running in and out of the church at, early morning hours to cut checks, and the line for the food bank was humbling. It was just unreal how many people were there. So I do think, we've tried to balance that a little bit, Mimi, but certainly, going into 2021, the vestry will do a follow-up post the annual meeting.
And I think Lisa's graph of looking at the sort of overall trends is helpful and illuminating. I think that we'd experienced a shift in the last 2 or 3 years pre-COVID in number of people and how much is being pledged. So
and some of that, I guess, some of that is pledges that, folks that, obviously have moved away, and or, people that this year have made a decision to move away from Trinity, not geographically. Okay.
One thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that when our church opens, there will be the donations, the cash donations during the service. As your income statement said, there was lost revenue due to the church being closed, the plate offering.
Yep. I think there's you're absolutely right, Leslie, on that. There's a big difference though of losing money on the plate versus losing pledged dollars.
Oh, I know. I was just trying to.
Yep. What I would do though, what I would ask, for folks to think about, and we will have continued conversations. It'll be on one of my last slides. If folks feel like, mid-year they want to make a commitment, or in March they want to make a commitment, or after this meeting they want to make a commitment, those pledge cards they could still be turned in, right? The other piece as we look forward, it's not only trying to close the gap now for what I've just talked about on the revenue side, but it's, how do we start thinking forward into 2022 as well, right? So that pledge number is going to be very critical in what we will not be able to do for 21 as well as 2022.
I also note the work Lisa and Rick have done, and Judy, on getting the special envelopes tied to Realm. Right now, we used to, have those special envelope boxes, and some people would there'd be a separate one for different occasions, like the maintenance fund or the rector's discretionary fund. That's all tied into Realm now. So one could, on a Sunday, realize it's a special envelope week, which we put in the newsletter. We explain what the fund is going to. So I got to write a paragraph about the RDF, and now it goes for folks who need help in our community, be it with groceries or with a medical bill or a utility bill, or giving it some to the Canton Food Bank, as we did this last year. Or with the maintenance fund, we get a chance to explain what those funds are, and you could both mail a check in the envelope the old-fashioned way instead of dropping in the plate, but also, our finance team has organized it to make it in Realm, to make it really easy. So that is a lot of work that they've put into to try to get us into a more sustainable way of collecting in that way.
I would like to suggest that we plan for another caravan in the early spring, because I know of at least one, maybe two, maybe several pledges that people were so appreciative of the visits that they reconfirmed their pledge commitments to Trinity. The outreach that we do for each other, to each other, people, I think, have lost the feeling of connectedness to our parish, and the caravan was amazing for us who did it and for those who received it. And I believe I know, again, one or two people who decided that they would continue to support Trinity and felt part of Trinity because of the caravan.
Great. Thank you, Leslie. All right, Neil, can we pop over to just the expense side of the house? Just so we can balance this off. So just, going into 2021, we've reduced our expenses by about $39,000 when we compare to the 2020 budget. Again, it's not fair to look at actuals of 2020, just with everything that, occurred in 2020 with COVID. The primary drivers for those are listed out here. It is the elimination of the Christian formation and bookkeeper positions, the reduction of those other employee expenses, which include a myriad of items, the decision not to have the supply coverage, and then just mission expense, which is primarily driven by a reduction in Christian formation and advertising expenses. From an advertising standpoint, we'll look to use those low cost, no cost. So we're trying to be fiscally responsible on peeling back on the expense side as much as we can with those items. If we look into the next page of other items, for awareness, we are in process of applying for the second round of PPP funding. Hopefully that will come through. We will look to draw on the maintenance account and even on some of the memorial accounts where we can. Maintenance, obviously, to keep the lights on for any maintenance items if we need to. And then in the memorial fund, if to tie back to Gary's earlier comment, if something needed to be done with the organ, we do have those funds available, anything that was donated in memoriam of, instead of draining that operating cash. So I think what to expect going forward, definitely financial updates to the parish will happen on a quarterly basis as we move through this, just given where we are from a financial health perspective, and just keep folks, in tune with what's going on. We are starting that 2022 budget planning process a lot earlier. At the end of the summer, we're going to look to talk about the year that will be coming ahead of us, as well as starting off stewardship much earlier. It was, and I thank everybody for their support from the finance committee, the vestry committee. We were really tight on getting pledges in and trying to leave that period open as much as we can. You can't really prepare a budget soundly without having those pledge cards in. So we're looking to start that a little bit earlier in the process. I guess last but not least, my name is out there, my phone number in the bulletins and online. If there are any questions around finances, please feel free to reach out to me. Many of you have through the course of the year. I thank you for your call. I find those conversations rewarding, not only from a financial perspective, but also to just understand what's going on at Trinity from your lens. And I forward that up on in our vestry meeting. So I thank you for the opportunity to serve as your treasurer this year. I thank everybody that rallied around me in the transition from Judy to Rick to Jim, and Neil and Gary for all your support as we navigated through 2020, and Carrie as well. It was quite the year to take on becoming the treasurer of Trinity. So it was initiation by fire in a lot of ways, but I appreciate it.
Thank you
Lisa,
for everything.
Lisa, it's Mary Ellen. Thank you so much for doing this. If anyone has the definition of a thankless job, I think this is it.
Yep, agreed.
Everyone. Thank you very much.
That leads us nicely into the official thank you of our not retiring, those who are cycling off of vestry, to Tina, who has done such an incredible job this year helping keep us in contact. I don't know if any of you have received a note in the mail from her. She's was part of the, with Karen doing the thank you notes after Quality Street, hugely helpful in reaching out and creating a sense of belonging in this community. Bill, who's cycling off as well in the same class. Love conversations with Bill, and we'll miss your level-headed, no-nonsense point of view in our vestry meetings. And to Neil, thank you so much for the work you've done as our senior warden the last 3 years. Like Lisa, I think when you signed up for that job, you didn't know what to expect, but you got a priest transition and COVID all in one. all of you. There's a token of our appreciation, not coming today because I'm snowed in, but coming on soon on Tuesday, just to say thank you so much for all your leadership, all your hard work and your thoughts and your continued engagement. And I look forward to seeing where God leads your ministry now and moving forward. So again, thank you. And thank you to our new vestry members who are stepping up. I think applause would be in order for all of those folks, for Neil and Bill and Tina. We love you and we'll miss you on the vestry, but also time to put your burden down for a little while. Okay, we're now at the any other business section. This is a time we can have of open conversation, questions with your vestry members, with each other, as part of a official. If we need to have another follow-up meeting, if anything arises that's really serious, that might merit longer conversation, that's available to us. But it's good to see all of you. And any other business?
It's me again. This is not business, but Leslie brought up the subject of doing another caravan. I am more than willing to help coordinate that. And if anybody is willing to help me do that, we can do a caravan, once the snow melts. I'm more than willing to do it, and maybe even follow that up with developing like a buddy system. I think I talked about it last fall, but then I got busy. If so, anybody who is willing to help me, we can reach out to those members who are on the Zoom today, and to reach out to those of you who are, so we continue to stay in touch. And I think that bringing that connectedness together will help us in many, many ways. So if anybody's interested, I'm on Realm. You can find my email if you don't already have it.
You sign me up, Mimi, right here. You got one.
We can put that in the
And I know you're going to find me anyway. So.
And that was a tremendous effort. It was incredible, just in terms of like efficiency to visit that many people in one day, but in terms of how many volunteers you were able to rally. And I was honored to be a part of it. It was truly an incredible system. So I'm all for that. I know as the weather warms, I'm a pretty hardy New Englander. I imagine moving outside for if we're still in the red zone in terms of COVID infections in Canton and the surrounding area, we'll have the outside available to us, and we'll be back in the building as soon as we're able to. Thank you, Gary, for specifying around the considerations that went into that decision. But it'll melt. The snow will melt eventually.
Any other volunteers?
Judy's got her hand raised. Jim's got his hand raised. Lori.
She'll call you if you don't volunteer. So
there's a lot of hands, maybe too many to keep track of.
I got Leslie.
And Peter.
Peter. Who else?
You got them now.
Bill and Mary Ann got their hands up. Lori's got her hand up.
I can't write fast enough.
Judy.
Who said that?
Judy Inman.
Judy said Judy.
Judy. Perfect. All right. I think I got most of you. If
I'm taking names too,
if
so
you don't hear from me, get a hold of me.
And you got Ann Beirut.
Yep.
She was raising her hand. Cool. Any other thoughts or questions, Leslie? It looked like you were trying to say something. I didn't want to cut you off.
No, I was just trying to get Mimi's attention.
Oh, okay, good. Attention has been gotten.
I think we should send out an email to everybody to make sure they eat pancakes on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday.
Yeah.
Since we can't do it together, we should at least think about it.
That's a fabulous idea.
Yeah.
We could do a big Zoom thing. I mean, that's available to us. Everyone gather and scripture study will still be happening. You could come to scripture study that night and eat pancakes.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It would just, if everybody could grab their Mardi Gras beads and cook their own pancakes, it might be kind of a fun thing to get people together.
Well, I know that the Ash Wednesday schedule is coming. I haven't quite finalized it yet, but we're going to have some form of like pick up ashes to take home to either self-impose during a live stream service or on its own. We just ask you don't mix them with water because apparently ash and water makes lye and that can burn people. So we'll be sending out prayers and information on that, I promise. I know, Ash Wednesday is an important, obviously a very important part of our spiritual life together.
Carrie, could we do some delivery of the ashes? I'd be willing to help out with that.
I would, yeah. let me know if you'd be willing to do that.
Carrie, I had one question about where the bishop stands relative to when we could eventually receive communion again. What is his plan and thought in terms of how it happens?
We haven't actually, it seems like the conversations have been around more like in building versus receiving Holy Communion. And it's up to each congregation at the pastoral direction of the bishops. There hasn't been a lot of conversation around that. And that's maybe something that needs to be picked up again and seriously thought as to how we could do that in a safe manner. I know that, longing for the sacrament is deep in my heart, and I haven't received since, March of last year as well. But I will put that forward at the next wardens and priests meeting. Okay, anything else, folks? I've got Bill hand.
Yep. I guess this is for Gary. Is there any way we can see, well, I guess the property committee doesn't meet that often, but in the past, when we were better connected, sometimes things would come up, a need for this thing or that thing, or fix something, and we would find out about it and through coffee hour or whatever. And some people were gracious enough to step up and to offer funds towards that item. But now with COVID, we just aren't connected enough to know what's going on or what's in need. But if we did, I think people may, at least have the opportunity. And it may help with a budget like this, if that were available. So that's just a suggestion.
Okay, I'm not sure I really understand. Like, so people, if they knew what the financial cost was for,
if items, something breaks down, we've had things in the past where we needed lights in the parking lot, we needed refrigerators, we needed, whatever.
Or for instance, the tree. Maybe
Or the
somebody
tree,
would have been
somebody
willing
may
to
want
pay.
to cover the tree removal, or something comes up. Today, we really don't have an avenue into those problems even existing. But if we did, if we knew about them, if the parish knew about them, someone may want to take the opportunity to help out a little bit.
Bill, I think that is a great suggestion. And I think maybe the answer would be that I can communicate with Claudette any line items that she can put either in the newsletter online, so that people kind of know, like, hey, this was a large expense the church had to incur, just so they kind of know what's going on or what things cost.
Yeah.
So, great point. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And this is more of like a how we operate thing. I know special projects like that are one of the ways that like we feel motivated to give, and still the most consistent way we can give and support is through pledging, because that's what the money ends up coming from. But anyway, we can get it. I think that can be absolutely using Claudette and the newsletter for connecting with one another. If anyone ever has an announcement, that's what it's there for. It's replacing the announcements period of church until we can do that again. Right, I'm aware at least of my own Zoom fatigue. I've been on the computer since 9 a.m. I don't know about the rest of you. Alex has been, he's nodding. Any other thoughts or things that we need to say before this meeting feels complete? And otherwise, I'll close us in prayer. Elaine's got her finger waggling.
Unmute yourself.
You're still muted, dear. Here, I'll ask to unmute.
Diane, unmute yourself. Press the mute. There you go.
Not yet.
It's down at the bottom. There you go.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I had to
I had to join my sister because my computer decided to take a rest. In as much as so many churches around us are open and parishioners are worshiping, we are all wondering when that day might come that we might do the same thing. I know people who not only will not pledge, not only will not tithe, but will also not pledge because there's no guarantee that Trinity is going to be opening at all. And it seems to us that the longer we are closed, the greater the likelihood that we won't open. And I think that fear is out there. I think it needs to be addressed. I'd like to have, is there a discussion about this?
We heard from Carrie on behalf of the property committee about the decisions that went into keeping the building shut to in-person worship. The guidance from the bishops continues to be, if your town is in the red zone on the CT COVID portal, to not have in-person or indoor worship. I know some of the surrounding other denominations are physically in their buildings. I think I've written in my annual report and in letters of just how much smaller our building is and how much more dangerous it is, particularly with increased contagious strains making their way around the nation. And I'm not the one who said this first. I forget who said it, but I'll repeat something from vestry that someone mentioned of not pledging because we're not having church the way we want won't guarantee. It'll lead to that likelihood that there won't be a church to reopen. I think we are very eager to reopen the building. It's not easy doing online worship. It doesn't serve the same purpose, and it's the best we've got right now. So I'm eager and looking forward to that day, at the very least, when we can be outside in our beautiful outdoor spaces, worshiping in the beauty of creation. But our primary goal is to keep people safe, to keep our community and our neighbors safe, because we're all learning through this pandemic that we're not alone. We're connected to so many more people than we ever thought. So that, if I got ill, I would touch a lot of other lives without even realizing it. So I do hear that. I think our vestry has heard that. I don't know if Neil or anyone else from the vestry wants to speak up on that, but that's been a huge point of pain in the community. And it's definitely heard and serious.
I'll jump in real quick. So yes, and it has been. There hasn't been a single vestry meeting. We all want to get back in just as badly, if not more badly than you guys. So please understand that. We're not looking for an excuse to keep our doors shut because it's not helping anybody. It's not helping ourselves. It's not helping this feeling of connection. It's not helping being able to receive the Eucharist. There's so many things that would be so much easier if we were all in church together. And please understand and trust your vestry that the minute we find the way to do this safely, we're going to do it as fast as we can. I think there's so many things go into this. It's how Gary spoke. It's how the church's circulation works. It's how the heating system is built. It's how much space there is. It's how high the ceiling is. Like there's all these things you have to take into account to make sure we can do this safely. And I've had folks say, well, people who are just high risk can just stay home then. Let's just give people the opportunity who want to potentially take up some risk to go do this. And we made decisions at vestry that we don't want to make that offering by excluding people. We feel that that's not fair to the people that are in that boat and really want to go, and would make them feel even more disconnected because they don't feel safe doing it. So I know it's a lot to say trust us on this, but please understand this is a topic of conversation every time we get together, multiple times a month. We want to get back here. We will get back here, but we want to make sure we're doing it in the right way. So quickly, but safely.
I second that.
I've got one point to make.
Aren't you muted?
Go for it, Peter.
I'd just like to, I'm old school technology. And I'd just like to say, I'm very happy with the way this meeting went. I didn't be so productive. And I just want to thank everybody that's involved.
Thanks for lifting that up, Peter. I am also I'm amazed at how splendidly this has gone. You all are incredible for showing up in this place, in this weird space. Oh, and Jack Henney's got his hand up, and maybe that'll be the last comment.
Yeah, I have one comment, and that's maybe you might want to take in consideration as people have gotten their second dose of vaccine, that maybe the church can be open to them. maybe another decision has to be made about when to receive communion and how.
What an idea.
Yeah, I think taking guidance from the medical community on the, how the vaccines work. Do they actually stop the spread of COVID, or they just stop the serious illness? Especially with those increased contagious strains. I think that is important. And I'm so glad. I mean, I'm almost cried with relief when I heard folks of our older population getting their shots and getting getting their appointments on the calendar coming up soon, I think, for some of us. So if you're able to get your shot when you're able to, and I pray that will make us safer and make it easier and faster to meet together.
Well, Jack, this is Gary Nixon. To put a pin back in that, what you're going to need to see is you're going to need to see a decline in the number of cases. So the fact that people get their vaccine, their second shot of vaccine, that may be well for people at this point, 75 or older, 65 or older. What you really need to see is the community infection rate come down for the testing. Anyway, that's really the heart of the reopening. If we didn't have any infections, even if there wasn't a vaccine, if we were Australia, New Zealand, where there was no distribution of vaccine, but there were no infections, we could all be in church. But that's really the case, is that we just see the numbers come down. Then I think that opens us up to being back in service. So that's what we're looking for. We've talked about this at multiple vestry meetings, that it's not just, air purification, or it's not just, opening the windows or being outside, but the safety is the number of infections happening in the community.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you all for this unique, and hopefully it will be a unique annual meeting, and we won't have to gather online like this again. But I appreciate all of your patience and the technology, for good ideas from Allison and then from Alex on how we can vote together. I'd like to draw us together in a closing prayer. So recalling the presence of Christ in our midst and alive in us, let us pray. Holy, loving, and creating God, we give thanks to you for this community that we call Trinity. We remember that at our heart, we are a people of relationship, loving, ever-moving relationship. We draw our strength from you, and we pray for our community today, giving thanks for the faithful lay leaders among us, for our vestry members and wardens, our clerk and our treasurer, for those cycling off and those cycling on, for those who don't have an elected position but still serve your parish through reading and camera work and organizing caravans and writing notes and making phone calls. Remember before you today also those from our community who we have lost in the last year, who we love but see no longer, remembering Nancy, Ken, Elizabeth, and Bob, and praying for their families who miss them. We also pray for those who are sick physically or mentally. Pray for your healing touch to be upon them. And God, whatever we do, guide us on your path. Help us be stronger servants, better disciples, more passionate apostles, to help bring your healing light and love into this aching world. All this we ask through your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. And the blessing of God Almighty, Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, rest upon you all and remain with you this day and always. Amen.
So with that, do we have a motion to close from someone?
Motion to close.
From Judy? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Tina?
Karen.
Karen, sorry.
Karen.
You are. All right, all in favor of closing the meeting?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?